Okay, so now that we've opened our program, we've learned how to save a file to some destination. Now we want to start modeling, okay? And like I said, I normally will have perspective double-clicked here and open. Um, but for the sake of this right now, I'm going to just show you how things change in space, okay? So I'm going to double-click on this to get back. Before we get started, it's important to know that Rhino runs off of layers. So if I click on this layers panel, and I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger so we can see a little bit better, you'll see that we get this, whatever's going on here, okay? So if I just expand this a little bit, you'll see it says default, layer 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so on and so forth. And you can actually assign different colors here too. And that's not overly important right now, but just note that whatever the color is, that'll be the color that your object gets made in. Okay, so for instance, if I go and I select red, anything on the color wheel, or maybe let's make it this gold color here, okay? And I'll just hit okay. And you'll see that color's changed. All right. Now let's go ahead and let's just make a box. And here are your tools over here, and you'll see there are so many different tools that you can select from. We're not going to get into all of these, okay, because you can imagine that Rhino is a massive program. What we want are standard tools. So let's just click on that, okay? And we're going to make a box, and we're going to put it under this layer. But the first thing I want to do is, just like with creating folders and file names, we want to make sure that we manage this correctly. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to name this box. And then I'm going to click on this box here, which is down in the corner, or I could even type it in the command prompt here. Okay, and that's the thing you're going to learn about Rhino is it's command prompt based. So when you start learning all the different commands that you can create, you're going to find that your workflow increases. So for this case, I'm just going to click on this, and the command automatically populates box. And under here, you will see that it's asking for some input here. So it's asking me, where do I want the first corner of base? Well, I could just randomly click somewhere and assign the box somewhere in space, just like this. If I click, and then it says, what's the other corner of the base or length? And I can make it over here maybe. And then what's the height? There we go. So now we've created a box, okay? Now this is what I mean about wireframe mode. And if you're working in solids, generally you probably don't want to work in wireframe mode. Okay, so I'm just going to set that to shaded. You'll see that now it's shading that box in. It's actually showing me that rather than just a series of vertices, that it's actually a filled in shape. And there are other modes I would caution you from engaging with rendered yet, because rendered mode actually takes a lot of GPU processing and it will make your computer lag as you're modeling. But rendered mode is really good if once you finish modeling something, you click on that and generally you can get like a sort of a better looking image. Okay, so I usually model in shaded. Okay, so that's a box. Let's do another box. This time I'm going to type it in. I'm going to type in box. I'm going to hit enter. And this time I'm actually going to put the box at the origin. So if you remember from your high school math days, the origin on a graph, on a Cartesian plane, is 0, 0, 0. Okay, and I'm going to hit enter. And you will see that it's starting to populate that box around the origin here. Now, if I hold shift, you'll see that it's going to constrain this box as a square, okay? And we could assign it a dimension up in the prompt here. So maybe we want, let's go 4 feet. Let's just hit 4 and then the apostrophe for feet. We're going to hit enter. And then it wants a width. And maybe we want to make this one 4 feet. And I'm going to hit enter. Okay. And it wants a height. Let's make a 4-foot cube. Wow, that's really small, right? So we didn't really know how big the box was going to be until we started assigning dimensions. This one is much bigger because we were sort of arbitrarily creating this cube. So maybe we want to work in the sort of 4-foot world. So one thing we could do is we could just get rid of this box and we're just going to hit the backspace button and that's going to delete it. It's going to get rid of it. And anytime you can get rid of extraneous objects, I highly recommend that you do so because you will find that your Rhino files can get pretty big. Okay. So now what we want to do is we want to zoom in on this box. Well, we can do it a few ways. One, we can zoom in with our roller ball on our mouse, in or out, but we might, whoa, right? It's going kind of all over the place. So the other thing that we can do is we can select this box and zoom to it. So let's select it. I'm just going to drag a selection window here with my left click, drag and hold, and it's going to select it. Okay. And now if I type in ZS and hit enter, it's going to zoom to those extents. Now, it hasn't done it in any of these other windows because none of these windows are actually active right now. You can tell which window is active by which one is highlighted here. So if I wanted that in, say, this left window, I would do the same thing. I would click on this to activate it, or I could click in the window and select something, type in ZS, okay. Oh, but we're still in wireframe, so let's change that to shaded. And let's do that again with the front view here. Okay, I'm going to select that, ZS, enter, set to shaded, ZS, enter, shaded. Okay. Now I'm gonna move into the perspective window full screen here. Okay. And one of the things that I want to illustrate is maybe you zoom out like this and you're like, oh, where did it go? And you're kind of looking for this object and you might get lucky, maybe. But you can't really tell, right? If I drag open here, it says one closed extrusion added to selection. Okay, well, where the heck is that? Well, I don't know. Well, even if we can't click on it, then what we can do is we can go Control A, and we've selected all. Or you could type in cell all and hit enter. Okay, and now I'm going to ZS. Boom, there it is. Okay, so that's a really good way to kind of get you home back to your object is, oh, I don't know where anything is. Cell all, hit enter, or Control A. Okay, and then hit ZS, enter, and it will always zoom to full extent. And that would be true if I had multiple objects here. It would literally zoom to show all the objects. Okay. All right. So that's sort of putting an object in space and navigation. Okay. Now, the next thing that you're going to want to have is the gumball. So there should be a gumball tool here somewhere.